The first sunrise. Every dawn, in the quiet sanctum of the Elder Tower, Kale and Lyra stood side by side at the open balcony, watching the sunrise. Golden light spilled across the world, warming Lyra's weaver hands as she smiled and let her power dance along the horizon. But the sun was speaking too. The mit's rays carried a living voice, warm and insistent, threading through their hearts like a forgotten song. Come closer. It seemed to murmur in the hush between heartbeats. Remember what you were, before the world divided you. Kale's shadow softened beside her, the Lord of Shadow content to let the light touch him without fear. Yet he too felt the words vibrating in his bones, gentle but unrelenting, calling the two halves of the ether heart back into one. Every sunset they returned, watching the same sun bleed crimson and violet into the sea. Lyra's light would fade gently into twilight while Kale's darkness rose to cradle it, their powers complementing one another perfectly. Yet even as the sun sank, its final rays lingered, whispering louder, Nadu, not let fear tear you apart. The balance is only whole when you are. Their love remained a silent, absolute promise. They were the world's protectors, and the world revered them. But the world is ruled by fear. The shadow cult of Zar was never truly mortal. For centuries the World Eater also. The trickster had worn the mask of their god, a sly, shape-shifting deceiver, who delighted in turning harmony into chaos. He wove a web of deceit that stretched from the council chambers of the light to the deep pits of the dark. It was he who planted the first seeds of the Great Divide, whispering to the light that shadow was a cancer, and to the dark that light was a cage. He whispered false prophecies, that Kale and Lyra's union would shatter the earth, ensuring the people they loved would become the very walls that kept them apart. The trickster fed on the isolation he created, growing stronger as the world grew more fearful. As the lovers fought to bridge the gap, the trickster was there at every turn, masking his presence as a trusted advisor, a prophetic dream, or a sudden unexplained doubt. He was the architect of their pain, engineering every conflict, every missed connection, until the world was at the brink of collapse, and he could finally emerge from the shadows to consume all that remained. In the final battle, at the edge of time, the sky was a bruised purple, and the earth groaned under the pressure of a million broken dreams. Lyra and Kale stood at the center of the storm, their hands almost touching, the weight of 1,000 years of almost love. Finally reaching a breaking point, the World Eater roared, a sound that felt like the sun itself was being extinguished. But as the darkness closed in, they didn't pull away. They didn't run. They looked into each other's eyes, and saw the truth that the trickster had spent eons trying to hide. They weren't just two halves of a heart, they were the very foundation of the world. As they finally locked fingers, the ether heart within them ignited, a brilliant, blinding fusion of pure light and absolute shadow. The force of their union was so powerful, it tore through the trickster's illusions, like parchment in a flame. He screamed a sound of dying stars as his shadows were burned away, leaving nothing but the original, raw void from which he had crawled. But the victory came with a price. To seal the rift the World Eater had opened, they had to pour everything they were into the crack between worlds. They stood on the precipice, watching the last light of the dying day. Even now, the sun's final fading rays reached through the chaos, speaking one last time, its voice steady and solemn, carrying the weight of all that had come before. You are the eternal defenders of love, light, and shadow. The universe will tear at you relentlessly, just as it claimed those the Creator lost in his final battle. The path ahead is hard and painful. After this day I will speak no more, and these words will fade from your memory. Yet their truth will burn forever in your hearts, until the end of time. You, alone, are the hope of this world. You are its only chance. Lyra didn't hesitate. She plunged her staff into the ground beside him, the light flooding into the ruptured Kale's shadow had created. Hand in hand, they stood together as the World Eater, the trickster, their combined power, light and shadow, creation and entropy, was forced into a single, terrifying singularity. It was the only force pure enough to seal the original wound. The final burst was brighter than 10,000 suns, and colder than the vacuum between stars. It drove the World Eater, the trickster, back, and sealed the rift forever. When the light faded, the sky was silent. The planet was saved, but Kale and Lyra were gone, dissolved into the ultimate act of balance. The people who survived saw the cataclysmic flash, and, misinterpreting the final, destructive act, declared that the two destructive gods had finally annihilated one another. They built monuments to the fear that the couple was gone, never realizing they were saved by the selfless love they had violently rejected. The ether hut was whole again, and somewhere beyond the veil, the first sunrise after the long darkness broke over a healed world, soft, golden, and eternal. The sun would never speak again, its final words lost to memory yet forever felt in every beating heart. They were the eternal defenders of love, light, and shadow, the only hope the earth had ever truly possessed.